All right, thank you so much for joining us on our 115th edition of Lunch Out Loud Ottawa. My name is Nick Machuski.
And I'm Andrew Miller.
And of course, we're the podcast that talks to the people, places, events, and music that make this city of Ottawa the incredible city that it is. How about them Sens?
Yeah.
This is going to be released on Thursday, but we're doing the interview on Tuesday, so I hope they won last night.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure they did.
you pumped?
I'm excited.
It's good. It's good for the city. It's good for the community.
It is.
Everybody's outside. Finally, we have some nice weather.
Great for businesses, local businesses everywhere.
Great for local businesses. The patios will be packed. Anyways, before we get to our very special guest this week, Majid Mogharreban. Almost had it perfect right off the top. Why don't we check this out?
Hey, this is Jeff Welch, a.k.a. Agent Goodthrust of the Reverb Syndicate, and you're listening to new songs from our brand new album, Odyssey, on the Lunch Out Loud podcast.
All right, thank you so much, the Reverb Syndicate. So, of course, their new album drops on Friday at the House of Targ. So you're going to want to get out there. The album's called Odyssey. It has some incredible graphic artwork on the cover, so that's a lot of fun. And, of course, at halftime today, Jen from Foodie Prince will be talking about the Originals Ottawa Spring Craft Sale that's going on this weekend.
Oh, nice.
And also the spring edition of the Wine and Food Show, specifically the food trucks on the show. So,
oh, nice. Is this the first year that the Wine and Food Show has done a spring edition?
I think it's the second year.
Second, maybe?
I think it's the second year. I think we spoke about it last year.
It's a good idea, because it's always a big hit in this city, that's for sure.
And it's a little warmer than waiting outside in the freezing cold out line in the lines at the Shaw Center. So, all right. So we're very pleased. I know I've been following Majid. I met you, I think, 2 years ago, and it was a pleasure. So many people told me, if you're going to meet one guy in this city, you got to meet Majid.
Oh my goodness. Cool.
And so it's just an honor to have you here on our show this week.
Yeah.
So you're not originally from Ottawa.
No, I'm not. I was born in California, grew up there, moved out to the Midwest of the States, and as fate would have it, I was traveling in Africa, in Zanzibar, Tanzania, and I met this beautiful lady, and she said she's from a place called Hull, Quebec.
Wow,
and I
really?
said, take me there. I must go there. So I moved here and been here ever since.
How was the temperature shock for you coming from
Oh,
originally
my
California?
goodness.
Or are you still in shock?
Well, I've gotten used to it. My wife says, you got to go to this place called MEC. I've never heard of it. So it's the Mountain Equipment Co-op here in Westboro. And we got everything. I mean, we got boots and long johns and high performance everything. And it was probably about a $500 bill, but I still wear all those same. And it's like, once you get the good gear, you can handle the weather.
Oh, yeah,
no
absolutely.
problem.
Yeah. And you were just handling that on an aside in Nunavut.
Yes.
You just got back from last week. You're in Nunavut, and it was minus 60. Did you say?
Wow.
Yes, minus 60 with the wind chill, minus 40 on the thermometer, and you actually pronounced it right, Nunavut.
Yeah.
I was pronouncing it none of it, which is fun to say, none of it, but no, it's none of it, and it's a new territory.
Yeah.
15 years ago, they just made it, and so I was actually out there training some of the government workers on strategy.
Oh, wow.
So that's one of the things I do is I train government and big business on management skills.
Yeah, and we're going to get right into that. But do they complain about the weather as much as people in Ottawa complain about the weather?
Well, it's funny. I got off the plane, and the airport is the size of a small house. And you walk in, and you're basically in the living room, and that's the airport. And one of the first things someone said to me is, good thing you're not here in the summer. Because they have these bugs that are like killer huge mosquitoes or flies or something. So I go, okay, so this is actually the good time. And so I'm talking to my client, and he says, it's just cold.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. Like, it's just cold. But they have the 23-hour daylight around the summer. Kind of makes it go a little crazy.
And vice versa in the winter.
Exactly.
Wow.
But
what was the daylight for you while you were there?
Well, I was just there in beginning of April, end of March, and it was going down around 8:30. So it was a little bit later than what we got here in Ottawa. Yeah.
All right. So what we like to do with all of our guests is get to know some of your favorite joints. When you're not traveling around North America and you're back with your family, where do you like to hang out in Ottawa? Where's your...
All right, I'll tell you what. If it's Saturday morning and I'm not at Baker Street having breakfast in Westboro, it means I'm not in this city. Because I am at Baker Street every single morning. Every single Saturday morning. I'm a cinnamon roll fanatic.
I was going to say, what's the craving?
Cinnamon rolls, Cinnamon roll. Now, you got to get there as early as possible. They open the door at 7 a.m., and I'm usually standing outside the door because my 18-year-old baby girl wakes up at 5 o'clock.
18 months.
Sorry, yeah, 18 month. 18 month, thank you. 18-month-old, she wakes up at 5 o'clock, and... She doesn't realize it's the weekend and you're supposed to sleep in. Yeah. So I've already been up for 2 hours by the time I'm there.
There's some good cartoons on in the morning, though, is there not? I don't know.
So we're there as much as possible. Baker Street for breakfast, hands down.
That's great.
Wonderful. Yeah. And maybe a dinner place that you love to go to?
There's a lot of good ones. I like Ceylanta. It's not the most fancy, but it's amazing.
Great Indian.
My wife is vegetarian, and they've got so many great options. And it's not Indian, it's Sri Lankan.
Sri Lankan. Sorry.
Sri Lankan.
Yes.
Ceylanta. There's
on
two.
Somerset.
There's one on Somerset and there's one on Carling by Crystal Beach. Amazing.
That's where I've seen the other one.
Yeah. Order the vegetarian thali. That's what we get every single time. And a thali is like 10 little mini dishes. And I love it because I have a hard time choosing, and you don't have to. When you get the thali, you get like a whole...
You get the dip in bread, is it?
You would order some naan separately. Yeah, you sure could.
Sweet. Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Now, you got here to Ottawa not knowing anyone but your wife. And how did you get to become the person where we were running this show and everybody's like, you need to meet Majid? How does that happen?
That's a good question. Well,
that's incredible.
I suppose I took networking really seriously, and I didn't know a single person when I was here. I didn't have a job either, so I figured I got to network. I got to find people who want to hire me, and I Googled networking event Ottawa, and there was one in this place called Canada, and so I go to this place called Canada, and I meet these people, and I got some business cards, and I would enter people's names into my Google Gmail contacts. And every event that I would go to, get a couple more cards, and I would follow up with people, call them, basically say, how can I help you? What do you do? What can I do that would be valuable to you? And it started, I hit 100, and I hit 200, and then I started to speak at events, because this is what I do, speak at little networking groups. And then I would go from getting 4 or 5 cards to maybe 20 or 30, because, when you speak at an event, you kind of sort of meet everybody, right? Yeah. And then I hit 1,000, and then I hit 2,000, and it's just been going up from there. I just try to meet as many people as I can, and I have a really deep and genuine interest in getting to know them. So I think whenever we ran into each other, Nick and I, Nick reached out and said, let's have a coffee. I said, great. So I got to know about your mortgage business and about your philosophies around travel and, time management. It was awesome. I just had this I have a real intense curiosity about people. So I just want to meet more people.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So that's kind of your advice to new people coming to Ottawa, because a lot of new people coming to Ottawa listen to this show. Just go out there. And are Ottawa people generally friendly, or do you find that across the globe people are generally friendly?
I find that people are friendly when you're friendly.
Yeah.
And the bigger the city, the more anonymous you can feel. Like, just stand in Times Square of New York City, and there's 1,000 people walking around you, and you will feel invisible, right? Versus go to a small town, go to the grocery store, and people are smiling and saying hello in the aisles, right? But if you bring that small town friendliness to, say when you're standing in line for lunch, you just say, hey, what are you going to order? You strike up a conversation. And I find people in Ottawa, they light up when you start a conversation because it's not the norm. Mm-hmm. This is not a small town village where everybody knows each other. Mm-hmm. But if you start talking, people are very friendly.
Yeah, I agree. And it kind of catches them off guard, I'm sure, a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
People are open to it, but it doesn't happen much, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So you've done so many things in the city. One thing I'd like to touch on, because I always love talking to authors, because pen to paper, writing a number-page book is just phenomenal for me. What led you to writing the book? I guess, what is it about? And what have you learned about the process?
Yeah, okay. So the book's called Winning at Life. And it's about figuring out what you want to do with your life and making a plan to make it happen. So setting goals and creating plans and overcoming sort of fears. And I wrote it for young people as I wanted to really talk about entrepreneurship and designing your life to young people. So I wanted to create a tool. And I found a guy in town actually called Bob Yurichuk. And when I decided I wanted to be a professional speaker, people said, you got to go talk to Bob Yurichuk. So he's a very successful professional speaker. And so we co-authored using a system that he had developed to kind of take you step by step through figuring out what you want. And I sort of repurposed it for young people. So what I learned about the process of authoring is it's as hard as you make it. You can write a book in a weekend. And it's not necessarily going to be terrible. And you can take 2 years to write a book, and it's not necessarily going to be great, right? So you got to get it written, and then from that point, the easy part's done. The hard part is selling. As an author, if you want to be a best-selling author, you got to find ways to get your books in the hands of people. So I learned a lot about marketing and selling a book, and I feel like I had this tool that's a huge opportunity for someone to grow and develop, but I just got to get them sold on the idea of not just buying the thing, but using the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To me, it sounds like a book that should go to high schools.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, coming from growing up, now it's even worse, I find, where they don't have OAC anymore, which was a grade 13 that we used to have. And even then, when you're finished school, I find a lot of people don't really know what they want to do with themselves.
Yeah.
I think, by the way it sounds with your book, how you plan out, you think of the end goal first and then work your way back, as opposed to a lot of people trying to figure out, okay, this is going to be my career when I'm leaving school, which, like I said, kids are even younger these days and don't know what they want to do. So
that's right.
I think it's really great the way that you do it, where you say, think what you want to get out of life and then figure out how you can achieve that, which is fantastic.
That's right. I think there's a point in people's lives where you realize that everything you've been doing has been to get the love and respect of your parents. Because that's like a survival strategy for a newborn baby, right? Get love from your parents, and then you will have food and clothing and shelter, and you kind of carry that strategy through childhood. And most people, through their whole lives, even after their parents pass, they're still like trying to prove something to their parents. And your parents' job is to make sure the child is safe and secure. So that means they better be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, right? Because that means they're going to be safe and secure. I mean, that was sort of the formula for being safe and secure when they were a kid, is like, get a good job. But now, people switch jobs, every couple of years. There's freelancing, there's project-based work. We're competing on a global scale. And if you're going to work your butt off, you might as well do what you love to do. And we're in an unprecedented time in human history that if you got something you want to do, you've got the whole world at your fingertips. And what worked for your parents and worked for your parents' parents is not the same as what works today.
So how was it received when did you pitch that to principals or the school boards, or how did they receive this? Because it's a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily what's on their doctrine of how we have to teach children.
Well, look, teachers are the heroes of today. I mean, they're the heroes. And schools are the places where we're creating the future of Canada and the future of the world. But